Hey, MLS Listing subscribers. Welcome back to another podcast as we continue our next generation of leaders, young leaders here in the real estate industry. You might have seen our first episode. We had Nick Bailey on, YPN chair for CAR. And we're thrilled to follow that up with Danielle Shapiro. Danielle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Honored to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing this here. Yeah, we really wanted to take a hard look at the this next generation of realtors that are coming up and are really involved in real estate, and will be shaping the kind of future here of real estate. So we'll kind of get more into that. But thanks so much for coming on. And just before we get into anything here, I just want to I guess give your bona fides here, right? Because I see you're a 2002 2025 CAR YPN Advisory Board, 2025 SAMCAR Membership Vice Chair, 2025 Compass YP Marketing Chair, Young Professional Marketing Chair, and you were the 2024 SAMCAR YPN Chair, right?
Yes.
As well. Did I leave
Once I
anything
drank
out?
that Kool-Aid, I was hit. I was like, I guess I'm never leaving YPN.
I tell you. Yeah, and you were 2024. I saw Sam Carr Rising Star as well. I said to Nick when we were doing it, I was reading his accomplishments like yours, and I feel deficient. At such a young age, you've done a lot. So it's great that you're so involved, and that's kind of one of the main focuses we want to talk about. Also, you're a third generation realtor, is that right?
I am. My grandpa and my dad are both brokers. They're not as social, so they're more on the back end doing property management
Sure.
and investment properties. And so I'm more on the sales side when they do all that other stuff.
Gotcha. Is that kind of one of the reasons why you wanted to get into this industry, just seeing kind of them and their, or is it just something you knew right from the get-go that hey, this works for you?
Well, to be honest, I always knew I wanted to be in real estate, but I thought that when I looked around and I saw all the real estate agents, I saw a lot of older people. No offense to the older people, we love
Sure.
you guys, but I didn't see anyone my age. So I thought that real estate agents become real estate agents when their kids go off to college and then they're like, okay, empty nesters, what am I going to do? Type of thing. And I decided from a young age I was going to be a real estate agent. I had that timeline in mind. And then when the pandemic happened, the timeline shifted.
Sure.
And I was like, why am I waiting till my midlife crisis, I guess, to have a career change? So I took that leap during the pandemic. My dad helped me study for my real estate exams. I passed. I quit my corporate job and I
Mhm.
haven't looked back.
Gotcha. And we're seeing more of that. Really, it's interesting because I had this. I was looking it up, and the typical American realtor, right? And this is according to NAR. Their
Hmm.
2024 member profile is a 55-year-old white woman who went to college, owns a home.
Yep.
However, the share of realtors younger than 30, grew from 1% to 4% last year. So it's a big increase, and it's kind of what we've been seeing more, and it's kind of the reason we wanted to start talking to young realtors like yourself who've been really involved here. Especially with the whole AI nowadays, I think is affecting a lot of industries. But as you know, we're a relationship industry,
Hmm.
right? So I think we could talk about a little bit, technology and how we're using it. But in terms of this industry, yeah, we can use AI and things to help us out, but it has been, and I think it always will be at its core a relationship industry, right? That's just the way it
Absolutely.
is.
I mean, that's why I got into real estate too. I used to work in a corporate, I
Mm,
used to work at Cease Candies, and it was a sweet life. I loved it.
right.
I mean, the candy was great, local Bay Area company, and I just felt like I wasn't making the same impact I wanted to. I had no problem doing the work, but when you wake up every day and you feel like you're not making the biggest difference, other than in the candy industry, which is still important, I wanted to make that change. And every day I wake up, my life is different. My days are also different, and I'm honestly making such a big impact just by talking to people or helping them achieve their American dream. And so it keeps me fueled, it keeps me pumped, and it keeps me coming back every day.
Yeah, no, wonderful. And what inspired you to actually not just real estate, what inspired you to get into the young professional networks? Because obviously you're very involved in that. Um,
Yes. So when I joined real estate, it was kind of deep pandemic, so nothing was really happening. And so, as people know, the real estate industry can be very lonely. And one of my best friends from high school also is in real estate. She's in San Francisco. So we kind of latched onto each other and we're like, okay, we need to start marketing ourselves, networking, because this industry is a people industry. And we need to get our name out there. So, since the business wasn't really flowing, we're like, let's put our personal brand out there. And we just started going to events. A couple title reps asked us to go to a young professionals network. We're like, oh, okay, we're young, we're professionals, and we want to network.
Right.
Great,
Check
awesome.
all the boxes there.
Absolutely. And at that event, I met the wonderful Jessica Eva, and she actually tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, you don't know it, but this is going to change your life. And I obviously looked at her like, this woman's crazy, but you know what? She's successful. She's here. She knows everybody. I want to be like that. And little did I know, YPN changed my life for the best. I feel so connected within my community, within the real estate industry, with all my colleagues, the lenders, vendors, all of the above. And I am waiting just tap, or I've tapped some people on the shoulders, and now I'm just waiting for that next generation to tap.
Right. It's funny you mentioned Jessica, because you remind me of Jessica in a lot of ways. So,
Thank you. Big compliment.
yeah, I saw her at the I was at the legislative day a few months
Yes,
back, and was able to
I
see
was
her.
there
And
too. Great
oh,
time.
okay, wonderful. It was my first one, so I was like, oh, I was blown away. I had such a great time, and so I
Oh,
can't wait to
yeah.
go next
Amps me
year.
up.
Yeah. And so, in terms of YPN here, do you view it more as, is it more of a networking tool, or do you see it as a leadership pipeline, or is it both?
I think it's both. I think it's whatever you want to get out of it. And then that might change as it evolves as well. For instance, I got into it just to get my name spread around, to create a network because there's so many brokerages out there, but it's nice to have friends on the other side of a transaction or know other people that might be on the other side of a transaction. At the end of the day, having your name out there is not the worst thing that could happen. It allows people to put trust in your name because that's what you want in this industry. And so by getting involved in Samcar and YPN, people started getting to know my name and hearing my name around and seeing me at different events, which then allowed me to leverage that in my day-to-day business life, but also allowed me to kind of grow on that ladder to other leadership positions. I'm on like membership chair right now. I'm on the advisory board for CAR. And so if I want to progress, it is kind of that stepping stone that will let me or allow me to do that because we start out small until you get big. Kind of what
Right.
Nick Bailey was doing, start out with YPN, and now
Right.
who knows where it will take him.
Yeah, yeah. You got it opens up a lot of corridors, a lot of doors. You mentioned, how lonely this industry can be, and as a young realtor, and we always say, you're basically wake up unemployed every day, right?
Absolutely. That's my motto.
Yeah, and so it is nice to have that kind of a surrounding community around you, especially with YPN, with like-minded kind of individuals, and it's all starting out and as a networking tool, of course, but yeah, also is who's going to be stepping up in that leadership pipeline, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, there's a lot of young real estate coming in, and I'm glad to see. Do you notice in your YPN events kind of maybe an increase? And younger realtors out there?
Well, I have to say, I think in our membership orientation, I have seen an increase of younger members. And then at our YPN events, I have seen a slight increase. I'm not going to like inflate the numbers and say, oh my goodness, all
Sure.
these young people are coming. I am seeing it overall nationwide because I'm in multiple young professional networks across the nation or accountability groups across the nation of not kids, young adults my age. And it's refreshing. I mean, even just with the young professionals in the San Mateo County, we all are from different brokerages, but I can
Right.
call them up and say, like, hey, have you done this type of transaction with a VA loan? Like, I don't want to call my manager and ask this like question that will waste their time. Like, I know you've done it and we've helped each other out there. It's nice because you don't know what you don't know, but someone else might have an answer to it and they're a
Right.
quick call away because we're all in the same position.
Yeah, it kind of echoes what Nick had said as well. Because I mean, we have real estate; it's a competitive industry, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, don't do you feel like these kind of connections, and doing the YPN with, really adds this level of cooperation that really helps build your business?
Absolutely. The collaboration part is just so wonderful because at the end of the day, we're just trying to better our industry and
Right.
help each other out. And that's all we want for a better future for tomorrow and for home ownership and for our clients and working together because someone might have a really wonderful idea that you didn't think of. And by working together, you get that solution.
Right. I was taking a look at your, I think it was like Instagram or one of the social medias, right? Just when I was looking you up here. Uh, and so, one thing that stood out is I think you said real estate is more than just the stats for me. It's
Yeah.
about the connections, the stories, and the lives I get to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that really stood out.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong, every agent loves stats,
Sure.
but it's those connections that we create. Like, for instance, this past weekend, I had brunch with a former buyer, and she told me that she was pregnant. Like, having those intimate conversations, I'm like, wow, you feel so confident and comfortable telling me when you're still very early on is something that is so magical, I guess you could say, that we get to be a part of these people's lives. On closing day, it is obviously one of my favorite days because I get to give them the keys to their house, the keys to the next step in their lives. But I get to be there for that moment as well. And we take a photo together and it's such a moment that I mean it makes everything worth it.
It's
Like the
it was
transaction could have been completely horrible. There could have been horrible
right.
communication from the list side or from the escrow or something. But when they get handed those keys, nothing else matters.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's one of the biggest, right, purchases you'll make in your
Yeah,
lifetime, right? Not just
absolutely.
financially, but also, I mean, that's your home, your family, right? Everything here. And so, do you find as as young as you are, do you sometimes do you have sometimes realtors? Is it tough to break through when you're just starting out like that because you are young in this industry?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I actually still have imposter syndrome because I am a 27-year-old real estate agent who owns no real estate. Yet I'm helping these
right.
Bay Area home buyers and sellers sell multi-million dollar properties that I can look at and I can help them and advise them on how to go through the process. But I don't have a house. So I'm like, how are they trusting me? And so it's such an honor to be doing that. But yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, in building those client relationships, I think, for you, from what I can tell, customer service is a huge part of what your focus is, right? And emphasis on. And I read something like white glove customer
Yes.
service. What
Yeah,
does that entail there?
absolutely. So my whole goal in my real estate career is to give the people white glove service. It doesn't matter what your budget is, whether it's 500,000 or lower to $100 million. You will get the same service from me, same communication style, because this is still a big transaction for you, and this could be the biggest transaction you ever do. And so I give them the white glove service because it's not about the amount of money at the end of the day, it's about the person. People don't remember what you tell them, but they remember how you make them feel. And so I always want to leave people feeling happy, feeling comfortable, confident after a transaction with me. And I haven't had a single buyer regret working with me, regret a purchase with me, regret selling with me, and I'm trying to just continue that legacy on.
Yeah, I read your testimonials out there. I tell you, they're all fantastic.
Thank you.
I should be very proud of that. We mentioned how, it can be difficult starting off,
Yes.
obviously, but at the same time, do you find it maybe an advantage in terms of, being young and maybe a little bit more open to some of the technology aspects of the industry? In terms of social media, how do you use social media or AI and like marketing and staging?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. I mean, for AI, I use like a kind of cheat sheet, I guess you could say. I go to multiple reliable sources, create data points, and I put it all into ChatGPT and I tell them to make I guess you could say, a simplified version that I can then send out to my clients so they understand what the market is going through and what interest rates are looking like and the job stats and all that kind of stuff and
right.
how that could affect them. Like for instance, with this new HB visa, like I have some clients who that will affect. And so
Sure.
being like, hey, let's put a pause until we have more of a definitive idea because it's not about the transaction for me. Like I'm not going to force their hand in any
Right.
sense to go and purchase a house. If anything, I have talked more clients out of buying homes than purchasing homes because if it's not going to match your lifestyle, it's not
Yeah.
going to fit your financial portfolio, then it's not worth going into. And so with AI, I help create those type of email templates that I send out maybe sometimes twice a month, depending on what's happening, or at least once a month. And it's a personalized email. So I don't do newsletters. I feel like newsletters get kind of just lost. I send a personalized email and I have a list, and it's tedious, but it's an easy way to a touch point. And
Sure.
then with social media, I love showing my personality on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of it. I tend more to do more comedic skits rather than serious skits, just because that's what I like to see. That's what my friends and family and past clients like to see. And if you meet me in person, you know that I'm not so serious. Until it comes to negotiating, then you're going to get a shark. Uh,
That's it's funny you mentioned that because I had totally forgot. I was just, while I was perusing through what you had, I did see one of your kind of more lighthearted skits, and you were like, since your uncle's brother sister said it, it must be true. And you were like driving in the car. I'm not sure if you
yep.
remember that one.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. I remember exactly where that was taken and all that. I listen to like at night after I'm done with my work, I like to decompress is to doom scroll, I guess you could say, on
sure.
Instagram or social media and listen to different trending sounds and see how I could use that sound in a real estate circumstance and have fun with it. And then oftentimes once or twice a month, I'll do like a content day where I just like do all my content so I don't have to worry about it. And then I keep it in my drafts and I just like sporadically push it out there so people can see my face every so often.
I think that's great because it's a relationship business, and I love
Mhm.
how you show yourself out of the social media and right. I think it's a great way to win business. I think just being honest about who you are, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, one other thing that I do with social media is, and like before I did this, I didn't see anyone doing this, and that just could be because I was biased or wasn't paying attention.
Sure.
But when I sell a property with a buyer or a seller, if they are comfortable, I take a photo with them and I post that on my Instagram. This is a people business. Show the
Right.
people who are buying the house. With that being said, I don't give the address because you don't want both of those things
Sure. Sure.
shown. But I mean, having their faces holding that sold sign with their family in front of their new property or inside their new kitchen is a moment to celebrate rather than just saying like sold with the stat. Those stagnant things I feel don't get as much interest level or that much like audience views compared to those family photos.
Yeah, you see their smiling photos, and hey, they're first time buyers. You see
Yeah,
that it's real, authentic enthusiasm, right?
absolutely.
Excited.
It puts a
And
name to a face or a name to a
right.
situation. This is not
It,
just houses. These are people's lives that we're affecting.
Right. If I'm looking at that and saying, "Hey, that I can relate to that. Hey, that I hope that's me when I buy this house," right?
Hmm.
So you can kind of envision that rather than just stats. And yeah, there's a place for all the, of course, the stats and all that stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's a big part. And I think being young like that, it's something I'm a trainer, right, for a lot of systems, and it's just such a stark difference between the new generation coming up because. I mean, they grew up on this on the iPhone, right?
Yes. The iPhone was
It's
my third phone.
yeah. So it's like they're fearless, you're fearless about using technology to help you
Mhm.
out. And so there's a bit of that transition, I think, from the new school and old school, or maybe adjusting to having to use some of it. But there's a healthy mix, I think, between the two. So
Absolutely.
we'll see. Um, what advice, I guess, would you give a young professional just starting out? I know you're young, advise them to go to those YPN events. What would you advise for the young professional here just to starting out here?
This is going to be a hot take, David, but I really
Okay.
think Young Professional Network needs to be a mandatory group that members, if you join like Samcar or if you join an association, you have to become a YPN member. It creates such a group of support and like just
Yeah.
you need that in real estate. And so I would just tell anybody who's starting out, reach out to your local YPN and join them. Go to the events, introduce yourself, follow them on Instagram, because you never know when they're going to become handy, or when
Yeah.
those connections that you've made and that collaboration helps boost you into like the next stage of your real estate career. Some of the people that I met at YPN are now invited to my wedding. And so like that's crazy. Just because sometimes in this industry you don't know who is real. And so having those YPN connections is, I think, just the best part about this industry.
Well, hey, congratulations on the marriage here, on
Thank
the
you.
engagement.
Thank you.
I did read that. I didn't want to bring it up unless you brought it up, but
Oh,
yeah, that won't get too personal. But yeah, fantastic.
yeah,
And I
thank
think
you.
you're right. I think you're right. It's in terms of networking, and who knows, maybe you also choose to go ahead and start going into the leadership positions as well after
Hmm.
a little bit like you have done. So, I tell you, I know we're gonna keep interviewing more and more young professionals like yourself and Nick, and we're hoping, I think, at the end to maybe bring everybody together, and kind of just, use like kind of a panel. It'd be a great resource for us as an MLS to kind of
Yeah.
keep track of how this industry is moving. And I really think, I mentioned what, 1 to 4% last year. I really think that number is going to keep growing, especially how AI is really affecting a lot of the kind of coming out of college, a lot of industries here. But I think in our industry, it's kind of what you put into it, and you
Hmm.
can use AI, but it's at the end of the day, it's always going to be what you put into it. And it's up to the sky's the limit, really. It's just how you want to go ahead and
Absolutely.
achieve.
I mean, whatever you put into it, you can double that. And I think it's really rewarding because you can work so hard and the payout's really nice. Or you can not work hard and sometimes the payout is still nice. And so
Yeah,
I mean it's all about, I think, just balance and maintaining who you are, because in this industry people will see through anything. And so
exactly.
just maintaining and being true to who you are and working diligently and collaborating with your fellow coworkers in the industry, and that will push you to that next chapter.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, I've had a wonderful time talking with you today. I'm really thank you again for coming on here, and sharing, all this advice with us and your experience as a young professional. I hope to see you keep up with great work and leadership positions, and say hi to everyone at Sam Car Farm. Are you going to be at the October 9th event, the golf, the Top Golf
I
by
am
chance?
not. I am getting married in October,
Oh,
and
okay.
that whole month is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? Next year, you'll see a lot more of me since the wedding will be over.
We'll give you a pass on the October
Yes.
here. That's understandable. But yeah, I love going to their events. I love going to the Bowleramas and
Yes.
all the ones that we can make. So, and it's great to see, you all out there. So thanks again. And I hope, yeah, down the line to reach out again. And we'd love to kind of bring you back and see how it's going. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.
thank you. And thanks for everybody for tuning in, and, keep an eye out for a future episode on this next generation of leadership in real estate. Thanks, everybody. Make sure to check out our pro support page for additional videos on a full range of topics. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on our MLS Listings YouTube page.